Hello, it's me. Just a quick update before we get into things. I don't do in-video ads for a bunch of reasons, but I'd really like to dedicate more time to making videos. So I have a Patreon now. The cheapest tier is pretty cheap. I've been posting little life and craft essays, unreleased work, test work, reading lists, videos early. There's a tier that includes the ebooks and audiobooks in my poetry collections. So yeah, if you like what I do, this is a very real and direct way to help me continue to do it. Okay, thank you very much in advance. Here's the video. I am 27 years old. I know absolutely everything.
Hell is for the way you look.
Hello, welcome to hell. Love. What's going on? Oh, the gilded highs, oh, the fucking despair. Meanwhile, in the culture, and I am not a culture critic, I am but a weak baby orca swept to shore by culture's wave, we are looks-maxing. Marriages aren't hugely successful at the moment. A legal commitment we now make for love, but used to make for sheep. People are trying to understand a relationship's mechanisms, or maybe just armor themselves. There's critical analysis, TikTok, biological essentialism, love languages and attachment styles, DIY, pop psychology, hyperspeed paths to romantic revelation without any nuance or the kind of painful self-reflection that actually leads to revelation. You can't hide from the infinite varying degrees of the human experience behind your little phrases forever. This interminable list of red flags, all these icks, men wearing pajamas or whatever. Not mine, to be clear. I like when people are comfortable. Maybe this speaks to identity formation, seeing a partner as an extension of ourselves, what we desire, being who we are. I think that's telling about how important this is to a lot of us. I also think the internet's obsession with this stuff is just another manifestation of the folly of any attempted reality organization. It's a scary topic, love. It makes you think about stuff like loneliness and sex and legacy and death, and presents the more likely than you'd hoped possibility that you will be hurt so severely by someone who deigned to care about you that it will change how you live forever. So it's good to put this stuff in a box so feel like you got it under control, it doesn't bite you. Also, media. It's debated to what extent our vision for our relationships is programmed biologically or culturally. Either way, I think it's fair to say in our times, a lot of people grow up assuming this is the path their lives will take. They'll meet someone when they're young, with whom they'll coexist in dizzy, wedded bliss until one of them is dead. If you're not able to engage with this part of life, there's something wrong. There's an urgency. Your parents are worried. But accomplishing this, as it turns out, is not that easy. Not only must you navigate the battleground of courtship, wherein people take secret videos of your first dates to mock you online. Stop doing that. You're dealing with your own fears and insecurities and wounds, and the intersection of these with other people's fears and insecurities and wounds, and a deep unease at the thought of aloneness. And somehow, while in the grips of this unease, you're supposed to make a lucid, educated decision about the kind of partner you should want, which you have no possible way of knowing until after you've failed in this pursuit, normally over and over and miserably. But before all that, here you are, face to face with someone attractive who has the appropriate amount of social currency and smells like your mom. It's perfect. Go on, kiss. This is assuming they like you back. If they don't, here's my advice. Out. Out now. Unless you're making art or you're punishing yourself for a sin. But it's nice when it works. Reality is distorted through this new kaleidoscope of meaning. Otherwise, respectable people become poets. Personally, I've been known to write down every conversation I have with this person, which I remember somehow. This is the so-called good part of love. But hey, I don't even think that's love. That's an explosive, to be fair, cocktail of desire and infatuation and the initial spark of attachment that makes you want to lick them and take them to breakfast. But eventually whatever that is wears off and you encounter the real face of your entanglement, which up till now had been intense but largely uncomplicated. You know when you were a kid and you visited a friend from school and you went to their house and you smelled it and you met their parents and sat at their kitchen table and you were like, this isn't right. That's how I felt about the internal worlds of everyone I've ever dated. And of course they were thinking the same about me. What is this place? How do you live in here? They don't understand. And God knows there's parts of it you don't even want them to see. The basement is padlocked or full of concrete. Eventually you might let them peek into the basement, but them not knowing how important it is to you, or even that that's the basement, will say something like, ew or what the fuck. They're clumsy with your emotions in a way that in some moments feels unforgivable. Relationships uncover sore spots you didn't even know you had, and it'll dawn on you at some point that this complete intimate self you want to share with them is just one big sore spot or one very fragile child riddled with insecurities, deep-seated Freudian stuff. And this whole time you're doing the exact same thing to them, hurting them over and over without intention, just in ignorance, which feels worse somehow. The closer you get to one another, the more capable you are of this absolute annihilation. See The Hedgehog's Dilemma. And somehow, after all this, you're still sexually repressed. And it doesn't always happen through betrayal or deception. Someone might just quietly fall out of love with you in their own time, and you watch their private world recede from view. Or maybe you do this to somebody else and you don't understand why. It's a tragedy, any of this happening in the face of severe vulnerability. It changes people. Lives are defined by these pains. And to avoid any of that happening again, because it hurt really bad, the next time you adopt a sort of defensive stance, you start measuring things, maybe subconsciously, maybe not, keeping a tally, logging how much you put in versus what you get back. You're empowered, so you refuse to be someone's therapist. Also, you've been to therapy and now you can't stop talking like you have, weaponizing cold, unemotive workplace phrases to speak about the bluest matters of the soul. It's criminal. Meanwhile, your perception of each other is fucked. You've got the people you both are inside your heads and what you can accurately decode of yourselves. Then it's your analysis of their selfhood and vice versa, plus what you interpret their interpretation of you to be, and vice versa. Oh no. In the midst of all this, selfhood, your internal world, it's always changing, and the only way they'll know and be able to keep up with it is if you explain it to them. Communication is important. Who knew? If he wanted to, he would. Maybe. Or maybe he just doesn't know what the fuck you're talking about, and you have to tell him. It's hard. I still struggle with this a lot. Even in thinking about it as like a constant act of renewal and not just like scheduling one conversation. It's something that isn't just done over and over again, but needs to live at the heart of your connection with each other. Communication doesn't sit on top of the relationship, it is the relationship. We're also told about the so-called rarity of love, which I posit is bullshit. We're an incredibly adaptable animal to the point where I think if we were able to see all of the branching possibilities of our affections, we would be shocked. There is no one. If that notion has been causing you any pain, you're welcome to get rid of it. It's nonsense. On a personal note, I was in a relationship a couple of years ago where I was acting fucking insane. I find it difficult to open up to anyone, and the only way I can comfortably do this is through a long and laborious vetting process. I don't have many close friendships, or indeed any friendships where I disclose often, so in that way my relationships did feel rare, or at least like they came with a significant sunk cost. I discovered about myself that I found it very, very important that I meet someone young and that the relationship continue, because this would ensure there was someone else alive on the planet with me who had known me at my most intimate at all points in my life besides childhood. Failure in this pursuit seemed to me like losing an important or the most important part of myself forever. It was unthinkable for my real self, the one that exists without condition or pretense or performance, to go unobserved or forgotten. It was really scary to me. I'd felt the relationship I was in was my last chance at that. As you can imagine, I was acting anxiously. I had to let go of this, but I didn't know how, or even that that was the problem, among other things. And we broke up. Amicably, but it was sad. After that breakup, I was single for the first time in my conscious life, really, since I was like 16. And if I learned anything, it's that the only way to behave respectably in love is to feel as though you don't need it, or at least that your selfhood wouldn't be destroyed without its influence. I believe that sincerely. It's much easier said than done. In my time alone, I really, really, really thought about and made peace with what my life looked like when it was just me. What mattered in that supposed absence of meaning, what was still important when no one was looking. I also realized in all my relationships, wanting to seem like easy or perfect and not wanting to rock the boat or learn how to communicate, I was hiding so many parts of myself, some that I hadn't even come to terms with yet in me, which is a totally unsustainable way to live. What you want will always catch up with you. If you want to be like a fully realized person, what you want will always catch up with you. I did all that. I became less anxious, more reasonable, a better communicator because serious conversation didn't send like a medical grade shot of adrenaline coursing through my body. Also, I don't feel like I need to have one perfect long relationship anymore. I see the value in like closeness that doesn't last. I think any intensity you feel for anyone is worthy of your attention, and also respect for who you were at that moment. This isn't an acquittal of jumping from a relationship at the first sign of trouble. The goodness needs to be cultivated. Even what you want to an extent needs to be cultivated. The idea isn't to find someone with who you like lie flush against immediately, but someone who wants to like make something with you. Really, every relationship is so individual and doesn't sit on like the petri dish slide of all the relationships that came before it. It's really its own thing. Each time love happens, a new shape is made to hold the matrix of life you have inside you. I really think that like a relationship can't be understood from outside of it. Do all lovers feel like they're inventing something? Indeed. And I think they probably are. In this spirit, more than anything, it seems like curiosity is the absolute soul of a relationship. We can't learn everything there is to know about ourselves by ourselves, and to be known by someone and have that given back to you, I think is like an incredible honor. And no, they can't know everything, but even the commitment to learning about someone else, how to handle them, their like innocent dysregulations, their dark stuff, their fears, what you can see in them that they can't see in themselves. That's what this is, I think. It's very difficult to know all of these things about someone else and treat them in any way but gently. You see the child all the time. And no, you're not their therapist, but shouldn't you be sometimes though, a little, and their teacher and their carer, and them sometimes the same to you, all the while acting in service of this curiosity? Here's love, an always changing, untallied, uncompetitive exchange of power, with the ultimate aim being to support one another in recreating the euphoria of childhood. Maybe. Similar to how Bell Hooks talks about love as a commitment to another person's spiritual growth. To act well in love isn't to simply accept the other person as they are, but to coax their selfhood out of them. After coming to this point, I've looked at my behavior in past relationships and felt completely ashamed at my lack of self-knowledge. All the times I could have been compassionate but wasn't, all the times I could have turned my palms up but didn't. It couldn't have been different from what it was, but still frustrating in retrospect. I don't know if people will like this, but I truly feel that if that condition of mutual curiosity is met, there are very few things someone could do that are unforgivable. And I don't know, if I can't have this, I simply don't want it. I simply don't want it. Because the wonder and mystery of the human connection, because for some of us there is simply no choice. We will keep wanting this. How difficult it is to rid yourself of this delusionist's fantasy of lying down next to someone who knows your shame and loves you for it. Your shames also lay together in a field somewhere. For now, you have the whole day. They make you laugh from across the table just for the sound of it. You say, hey, look at that, and they look. Later, you watch a movie one of you loved as a child. It doesn't matter which. 2 children, going home, your pink room, warm, their body, the night, in sleep, their mind so open it says, okay, I'm going now. I'm going. It's not far. I'll see you tomorrow.